Hey there folks, Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and Lala and I are here today to talk to you about a couple books that we think are really fantastic, and the reason why we think they're really fantastic is because they are the top 5 runners-up books for Best Children's Fiction of the Year, picked by moi, your Dragon Librarian. So we did, the last video for children's books we did was the top 5 books that I thought were the best ones of 2022 that I read. And so this week we're going to be talking about the 5 runners-up. And you might think, well, runners-up? I don't want to read about those or talk about those if they're runners-up and they didn't make it into the top 5. Well, just because they didn't make it into the top 5 doesn't mean that they're not good. In fact, they're amazing because technically they're in the top 10. And we couldn't talk about them last time because then the video would have been 1,000,000 hours long. So we had to break it up a little bit. And remember, I read a lot of books last year. So for them to even make the runners-up list is really kind of special. So, and again, these are the books that I thought were the best ones that I read in 2022. There might be ones on this list that you're like, I didn't think those were so good, or hey, what about this book? Why didn't you pick this book, Miss Rebecca? And if that's the case, let me know what some of your favorite books are of 2022 because I would love to know. This list is totally based on just me, that is one reader, but hopefully they will be ones that you will think are pretty awesome too. So, for example, my favorite genre is fantasy, right? Fantasy and science fiction. So those usually tend to be ones that I review a little bit more or show up on lists like this a little bit more, just because it's my favorite genre and I read a lot of that. But it might not be your favorite genre. You maybe will like mysteries or realistic fiction more, although there are quite a few realistic fiction books today that we're going to be talking about. But in any case, anytime you're talking about favorite books, it's always completely subjective, and everyone might have different opinions, and that's totally okay. So I just want to tell you the ones that I thought were really fantastic, and hopefully if you're looking for something new to read or you want to start off this new year with a bang and some great books, you'll have some ideas. Okay, so book number 5 that we're going to talk about is Jennifer Chan is Not Alone by Tay Keller. Jennifer Chan is Not Alone. Now, Tay Keller wrote To Trap a Tiger, which was one of my favorite children's books of last year that I read. I absolutely loved her writing, so I was really excited when she came out with this new one. It's very different from her last book, though. And one of the things I think is super interesting about this book is that it definitely deals with bullying, but it's actually from the point of view of the bully, not the one who's being bullied, which is really interesting. There's tons and tons of books about bullying, which thank goodness there is, because that's a really horrible thing that happens to people, right? But I don't know of too many of them that show the point of view from the bully. And it's very interesting. It's very interestingly done. So basically, this book is about a girl named Mallory who finally feels like middle school is going to go her way. She's got this friend called Reagan who basically is going to help her be really popular and, you know, not be teased and stuff. And all she has to do is just basically listen to whatever Reagan says. She has to kind of dress the way Reagan tells her to and act the way Reagan tells her to. Have you ever had a friend like that who's just really bossy and maybe not the best person to be friends with, but they're really popular, right? So it's kind of a hard situation to be in. Well, then a girl named Jennifer Chan moves across the street from Mallory. And Jennifer Chan is unlike anyone she has ever dealt with before or known before, because Jennifer doesn't care about anything that's popular. She doesn't care about following social rules. She doesn't care about, you know, any of that social hierarchy stuff. She just wants to be herself. And one of the things she's really interested in is extraterrestrials. So she's obsessed with aliens and she does all this stuff. Well, she's labeled as just a really weird kid. So one day Jennifer disappears and everybody's looking for her, and Mallory realizes that she has to help track Jennifer down, because at the heart of why Jennifer is missing might have to do with some bullying, and that bullying might be a part of something that Mallory was doing too. So like I said, this book is really interesting, and you've also got the extraterrestrial thing, which is really cool as well. But at the heart of it, it's about bullying and how it affects everybody. The person who's being bullied, the person who is bullying, who might feel remorse and want to change. It's a very interesting dynamic that this book tackles, and I thought it was fantastic. And of course, because it's by Tay Keller, the writing is absolutely phenomenal. Jennifer Chan is Not Alone. Wonderful book. Okay. Book number 4. This Last Adventure by Ryan Dalton. This Last Adventure. I love the cover of this book. It looks like there's like a cool monster or dragon that this boy and this man are fighting. And that's kind of what this story is about. So this book is about a young boy and his grandfather and their relationship and how close they are and how much they love each other. And the main character's name is Archie. He loves his grandfather. He loves hearing stories from his grandfather. And but sadly, his grandfather has Alzheimer's now. And there are lots of times where he doesn't remember Archie or remember where he is or even who he is. And it's really, really, really breaking down Archie's heart, especially because of how close they are. So he comes up with this idea that he's gonna read from his grandpa's journals and create these like role-playing scenarios with him about fighting monsters and going on adventures and stuff like they always used to try to keep him tethered to his relationship with his grandson. The only problem with that is it works wonderfully, but the only problem with that is as he's reading his grandfather's journal, he finds some things from the past that might not be the best stories and might not be something that his grandfather wanted him to know about. Some secrets from his past when he was fighting in the war and stuff like that. So there's all kinds of stuff going on in this book. Yes, it's very, very sad. But it's also very, very healing too, because watching the two of these characters connect despite this gulf of this disease coming between them is just absolutely beautiful. And you know, if you're a young person and you have a grown-up in your life that is suffering from this disease, you know, this book I think is really helpful in that it shows you that you're not alone, and it shows you that, you know, it's sometimes there's just nothing you can do to help, but sometimes there are things you can do to help. And it's just such an amazing story. I really, really liked it. And the writing was really good too. And I thought it was just such a great book dealing with such an issue that, you know, can affect anybody really, right? Beautiful, beautiful story. This Last Adventure. Okay, book number 3. You ready? Song for a Whale by Lynne Kelly. Oh, I love this book so, so much. This book was really, really cool. It had lots of things in it that I loved. First thing was, obviously, there's a whale in it, which that's amazing. Second thing is in the main character in this book is actually deaf, and that was really, really cool. I think there should be so many more books written about, you know, people with conditions like this that may be different from ours, and then you get different points of view from people, right? You're reading stories about people who are not like you, and then will help you put yourself in their shoes more, right? So Song for a Whale is about a girl named Iris who is deaf. And because she's deaf and her parents are not deaf, so because she's deaf, she feels that there's this huge gulf between her and other people. She gets treated very, very differently because of it. A lot of times she's treated like she's dumb, even though she's absolutely not. She's very, very smart. She is a whiz at technology and taking apart old radios and old things and fixing them and putting them back together. She's so, so good about that. And then she hears about this story about this whale called Blue 55, who is a whale that cannot communicate with other whales. Something's wrong with his song, with his voice, that will not allow him to communicate with the other whales, and because of that, he is not able to find a home within a pod of whales, which is really sad. So when Iris hears about this, she realizes that she can do something to help him. She can try to create a song that only he can hear that will make him feel like he's not alone. And so it's basically the story of her creating this song that she can play and then trying to get out to him and find him. It's also about the bond between her and her grandmother, because her grandmother, you know, understands exactly where she's coming from with stuff. So it's got a lot of beautiful things about family, about friendship, about feeling lost and not connected to the world that you're in, and how to find a place in that world that might not seem like it's, you know, that you fit in there, but there is a place for you, right? Wonderful book. Oh my gosh, this book was so beautiful. I loved it so much. And like I said, I learned a lot about a lot of different stuff that I didn't know about before, which is always a really good bonus, right? Song for a Whale by Lynne Kelly. All right. Now, we're down to the wire. We've only got 2 left. What are they going to be? Are they books that you've read or heard of before? Are they books that you're going to be really excited to read after you hear about them? I don't know. We'll have to see. Book number 2. Miraculous by Jess Redman. First of all, I just think that this cover is really cool. It's beautiful. It's mysterious. I'm kind of new to Jess Redman, to this author. I hadn't prior to reading this read any of their books before, but I read it and completely fell in love with it. I don't know that I've ever cried so hard reading a book that I did with this one. It was so good. I know a lot of the books today in this list have a lot of heavy topics, but I think they're all just so beautifully done. This one also has a very heavy topic, and it is about but it's done, it's just done so beautifully, particularly this book. So it's about a boy named Wonder who is what he refers to himself as a miracologist. So he is obsessed with miracles. He believes in the magic of miracles, and he keeps a journal where he writes down all these different miracles that happen in the everyday world, and he explores them and just believes in the magic and hope of the world. Until his mom has a little baby, his baby sister, who passes away after only a few days. So she's sick, she died, and now Wonder does not believe anymore. He does not believe in miracles. He does not believe in hope. He's just in a very dark place. It doesn't feel like there's anybody there to help him. His parents are lost in their own grief, and he feels like he's all by himself dealing with this. Well, then one day he meets this mysterious girl, neighbor of his, who wears a cape and is just all over the place, eccentric. And they discover this house in the woods, and who lives there might be a witch. It's this really weird old woman who gives them this quest of all these different things around town that they have to do. And if they do it, Wonder is told that he will understand what happened, and he will be able to believe in miracles again. And oh my gosh, this book is just so beautiful. It's also so heartbreaking, like I said. I mean, it's really sad, but dealing with grief, dealing with parents grieving, dealing with, that loss that you don't know what to do with, especially when you're a young person, is really tough. But it's also, this book primarily is not focused just on that. It's really focused on hope and finding light again after you've been in a dark place for a while. And it's so important. I would say that any young person that has lost somebody, whether that is a grandparent or a friend or just anybody, this is a book that they should read, because it really helps deal with grief. As an adult, as a grown-up person, I read it and felt like I came away from it just knowing so many other ways to handle my grief better than I do normally. It's an amazing book. And I would also recommend to go back and just read everything that Jess Redman has written, because I've read a couple more and they're all really good. But this one particularly was absolutely magical, and it's called Miraculous by Jess Redman. All right, we are down to the very last book, number 1 runner-up for Best Children's Fiction of 2022 that I read, and that is The Last Mapmaker by Christina Soontornvat. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but it's The Last Mapmaker. Now, I really love this author. She wrote a book called A Wish in the Dark that we actually did for Battle of the Books last year for middle schoolers. And it was a really unique fantasy. So when I saw that this one was her new book coming out last year, I was really excited. And I was not let down at all. I absolutely adored this book. I went into it expecting to love it, and I came out of it loving it even more than I had originally, which was kind of amazing. So this is about a young girl named Sai, who is apprenticed to the most renowned mapmaker in the city. Now, but Sai has a secret. So in this world, your status, like your wealth status and your job status, is all based on your ancestors. So she has lied and made up this grand backstory that she is from a much more well-to-do family than she is. Her father is actually like a criminal, low-man criminal, and they live in poverty. But she has pretended she is not, and this whole other backstory so that she can try to have a better life for herself. So she gets this opportunity to go on this really one-of-a-kind voyage with this mapmaker that she's apprenticed to, and she jumps at the chance. She knows it's her chance to make a name for herself, to really prove herself, and to just show everyone that she can be amazing. Well, when they're on that trip, this trip is trying to find this incredible, like, mysterious land that no one has ever seen before. So here is a map of the seas that they're traveling and the place that they're looking for, which is really, really cool. I love that this is in here. It's really fun to try to follow their journey as they're traveling. But she finds as she's going along that there is a lot more to this quest that they've been given than meets the eye. And she has to learn whether she can trust her own instincts, trust her, you know, who she's apprenticed to, his instincts, and do the right thing. Because sometimes being told what to do, and, you know, not having all the information, you really have to try to think for yourself and figure out what is going on. So one of the things that was really surprising that I loved about this book, that it dealt with in a really great way, was the negative effects of colonization on countries. There's a part where they stop at this other village, this other, you know, place, and they see that it's completely run down and all the resources have been stripped away, and it's because the kingdom that she's from has already landed there and taken everything away. And it's just done in such a thoughtful, like, thought-provoking, interesting way that it will just make you really think about things like, oh my gosh, you know, maybe this is something I never thought about before. And these are all things that now Sai has to think about as she's looking for this this new hidden fantastical place. Should she even find it? What's going to happen to the people and the resources there if they do find it, and stuff like that. So this is really great, and you know, like all really good stories, I think it has a mishmash of different genres. So it's definitely a fantasy, right? But it is also dealing with some really interesting issues, like I said, of colonization and travel and things like that. But it is also a little bit of a mystery as well. There's some family drama in there too. There's just a lot going on with this book that was really, really incredible, that I absolutely loved. And I think you will like it too. The Last Mapmaker. It's one of those books for sure that crosses a lot of different genres. So even if you're not a fantasy fan or particularly care for that, the mystery in it might draw you in, or the family drama might draw you in, or just the interesting story about colonization and you know, our responsibility with that might draw you in as well. So give this one a try for sure. The Last Mapmaker. Well, that's what I've got for you guys today. I hope that these books sound really interesting and cool and fun, and might be something you want to try reading this year. If so, please feel free to check them out from Farmington Community Library. And thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a like. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much and have a wonderful day.